It's a very short deadline, whereas residential school survivors had, quite a few years.
Tonight, time is almost up for survivors of the 60 Scoop to apply for compensation.
This is horsetail. It's good for diabetes.
And medicine exchange. Traditional medicine pickers share their knowledge and medicines from back home. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. 24 hours. That's all the time 60 Scoop adoptees have. Friday is the deadline to apply for compensation. The federal government has been asked for an extension, but as APTN's Todd Lamoran reports, people are scrambling to apply, and that's if they knew about the settlement at all.
Colleen Cardinal is co-founder of the National Indigenous Survivors of Child Welfare. And even now, at the 11th hour, people are calling her in a panic.
And they're like, oh my God, I didn't know, like I may be eligible, or my siblings or somebody I know was an adoptee and they don't know about it. So people are scrambling to get their information.
Nearly 2 years ago, Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Carolyn Bennett stood with adoptees and announced they would get $25,000 to $50,000 in individual compensation. But the deadline to apply for it is tomorrow.
After that, probably won't be considered. It has to be postmarked August 30th. And even if they receive it after that, as long as it says it was sent on August 30th, it would be eligible.
Cardinal says adoptees who now live outside Canada may be out of luck, and she knows people who hear the word 60 Scoop and believe they're not eligible.
We know that it took place from the late 50s up until the 80s. So there's a whole bunch of people that probably might have missed it and didn't know, and now they only have today and tomorrow to apply.
Cardinal believes there should not only be an extension, but there should be no deadline at all.
It's a very short deadline, whereas residential school survivors had, quite a few years. We only had a year to apply and to get the information out to.
APTN News asked Bennett's office if there would be an extension. There's been no response yet. Meanwhile, the 60 Scoop Healing Foundation will be holding 10 information sessions across the country to find out from adoptees what kind of healing should be done. First one happens in Montreal in just 3 weeks. Todd Lamoran, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Members of the former Waterhan First Nation took to the steps of Manitoba's legislative building today to call out federal and provincial governments for failing to address an ongoing displacement. Members from Waterhan, which is now known as Skonan First Nation, were forced to move to the nearby town of Portage Prairie in 1996 because of a dispute with Chief and Council over the spending of funds. In 2017, members were threatened with eviction from their homes after living rent-free in social housing. They called on Canada and the province to work with them to dedicate land for their members. Current members are in a facilitation process with Canada, but say it's going nowhere.
To explore solutions, but I feel that it's lacking because then there's a lot of things that are not being included with this facilitation process. The main thing is we right now is immediate need is to have a land base.
And we'd like to hear what you have to say. Here's how to continue the conversation. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. Find us online at aptnnews.ca, on youtube.com/aptn news. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest Indigenous news. Well, voters in Manitoba head to the polls in 2 weeks to elect a provincial government. But 2 weeks into the campaign, it seems Indigenous issues have largely been left out of the debate. For more on this, we're joined by the president of the Manitoba Métis Federation, David Chartrand. President Chartrand, thanks for joining us. Do you feel Métis-specific issues are being talked about in this campaign?
Well, you look at the statements and policies and sort of agendas that are being displayed on what the priorities are. Definitely there is no real solid mention of the Métis Nation anywhere. We're getting some of that from Wapkanu and some from Lamont, but clearly there's nothing from the Pallister government at all. There's zero on the Métis. In fact, because he doesn't have much to speak of in the first place, because he cut nearly everything with the Federation. And there's of course court case that's going on September 11th, the day after the election, regarding the $67 million that he cut from the Manitoba Hydro agreement we had with the board and with the president of Hydro. So from that context, there is obviously no promises or commitments at all being made to 120,000 Métis from the Pallister government at this point in time.
Obviously, September 11th going to be a big day there, but what would you like to see discussed ahead of the vote on September 10th? Well,
let's look at it from this context. Métis pay probably about $400 million in taxes in this province, and the economy of scales are very important. If Métis people aren't working hard, they're going to be paying the proper taxes and helping the Manitoba economy and helping our province continue to be a very strong province in Canada. And clearly, from the context of where the government's going, there is no economic strategy from them. I'd love to see and hear a Métis-specific economic strategy where investments are going to be put into the communities, where jobs will be created, where we look at the health conditions right now. It's costing all of us as taxpayers, including a Métis taxpayer, millions upon millions of dollars because of a lack of strategy, lack of investment. Métis are in the worse health care than anyone else in this province, and yet there's no focus. In fact, our funding got cut from the Pallister government on that issue. So you look at education, again, we find our children, and studies have been showing that, our children are in worse health care. In fact, preschool showing that we are failing miserably to the Métis children in this country, and in this province particularly. So there's a lot of gaps that are occurring, and I think what Manitobans need to understand, this is not a Métis issue, it's a Manitoba issue, because at the end of the day, if the Métis will fail and will hurt, will find themselves in a very difficult position, all Manitobans will have to pay that price, including us as taxpayers. So if by not investing and not planning properly, it's going to cost all of us a lot, and that shouldn't be where it is. There should be a direct plan. Just because Pallister has a direct animosity to me as a leader doesn't mean he punishes and disapproves anything that the Métis people potentially should be receiving. If not, don't take our taxes. Let us have our taxes back, and we'll run our own issues and run our own affairs.
As you mentioned, roughly 120,000 Métis living in Manitoba, and you've always argued, whether it's provincially or federally, that it's a vote that cannot be ignored. Is the MMF endorsing any of the parties or party leaders?
Well, what we'll endorse is the party platforms. And we have a specific person that's managing that file. Her name is April Orey. She actually leads the electoral process for us in Manitoba. We're educating our citizens. We have emails by the thousands going out every week. We have Métis, really young people, really proactive in this election. They're already making T-shirts, Métis Youth Vote. There are meetings happening with the youth across the province of Manitoba. The Métis cabinet is added on this agenda. So we're putting out flyers now, we're putting out ads, and we'll keep on pushing a lot, and we will be driving our people to the polls. We already vote in large numbers, but we're going to make sure we vote in greater numbers. And what we want to do is the letters that have been sent out to the parties, we're waiting for them to answer. What's interesting is that all the promises that Pallister made in 2016, all of them, he did not, to the Métis people, to the Métis Nation, he did not meet one of them. And that's a proven fact. So we have the written commitments made by Pallister when he was in opposition, and he did not meet one of them. So we're sending out questionnaires to the leaders, to the parties, saying, okay, tell us where the Métis fit in your agenda. And we're going to share that with all of our citizens and making it very clear, here's the choices you have. Here's what each party is saying. Here's what each party is promising to deliver with your hard-earned taxes. Now, which one do you want to vote for? You make that choice.
President Chartrand, we'll have to leave it there, but appreciate you taking some time for us here today.
Thank you very much, Dennis.
We're going to turn our attention to the Amazon after the break. But first, here's a look at a story that is coming soon.
I'm Priscilla Wolf, and I'm working on a story about a group of artists who recently returned from a trade trip to Tokyo. They say they are disappointed with how the organizer left them.
They got pulled over for my sustainable sealskin. The damage that would have done to me, my brand, in a foreign country.
There is so many different versions, and people are saying I left them days early, and people are saying this and saying that. And I can disprove all of it. And this is my first opportunity.
That story coming soon on APTN National News.
Here's a look at Friday's weather forecast starting on the East Coast. 26 with showers for Halifax, sunny, and 25 for Fredericton.
21 with rain for Happy Valley Goose Bay. Cloudy day in Nain with a high of 18. Showers and 26 in Montreal. 22 with rain for Saguenay. 24 with the sun out for Toronto and Sarnia. A soggy 24 for Ottawa. Sunny and 21 in Thunder Bay. 18 under the sun for Sioux Lookout. 9 is the high for Churchill. 18 and sunny in Norway House. 22 under the sun for Winnipeg and Gimli. 18 for Barons River. Showers and 20 for Regina. Sunny and 20 for Yorkton. 14 with rain for Uranium City. 15 and showers in Stony Rapids.
Welcome back. Today, Quebec announced a critical investment to improve and implement community-based elder care programs in Nunavik, part of the province's plan to improve quality of life for seniors. The $1.8 million boost to the Kativik regional government will allow each of Nunavik's 14 villages to hire a coordinator to oversee needs over a 3-year period. It will also fund construction of a seniors' residence and daycare to house up to 16 people. The investment comes as part of the provincial government's promise to amend issues with long-term and senior care before 2020. One of the Indigenous tribes fighting for survival in amongst the raging fires are the Kapyong. Armed with rifles, tribe members travel the Kuru River searching for suspected illegal prospectors and loggers. They hunt for evidence of encampments and for anyone that dares threaten their land. These days, however, they've also had to form village watch groups to keep an eye on the encroaching flames. Their population of 8,600 rests squarely within the path of several wildfires. The two-term mayor of Iqaluit says she will not be running in the upcoming municipal election, and she's raising concerns that Inuit are no longer representing Iqaluit. That story and more still to come.
Here's a look at the rest of Friday's weather forecast, picking back up in northern Alberta. Sunny and 20 for Grand Prairie, Peace River, and Fort McMurray. Sunny and 27 for Medicine Hat. Partly cloudy and 25 in Lethbridge. 18 with showers for Tofino. A rainy day and 22 for Vancouver. 19 under the sun for Dease Lake and Prince Rupert. 22 in Smithers. 8 and showers for Old Crow. The chance of snow and 3 in Rock River. 19 under sunny skies for Fort Liard and Trout Lake. 11 and partly cloudy for Yellowknife. -1 with snow for Sax Harbor, +2 and snow for Pawlatuck. Showers and a high of 5 for Repulse Bay, +1 and snow for Cambridge Bay. Snow and +1 in Resolute, a rain-snow mix and 2 above for Joe Haven.
Welcome back. Iqaluit Mayor Madeleine Redfern has decided not to run in the Nunavut capital's upcoming municipal election. We met up with the mayor to find out why she had to teach herself to lobby Ottawa and her fears that Inuit may lose the capital.
When Iqaluit Mayor Madeleine Redfern won her second term as mayor in 2015, the city's finances were crippled by a literal trash fire. The Iqaluit dump had caught fire for the second time, and the city was facing a giant debt after putting out the blaze. She was starting below zero.
Financial shape, the city had to and spent millions of dollars putting out a dump fire in 2014. We have approximately a $35 million budget, so a cost of about $5 million or so really hit the city's finances hard.
Iqaluit's finances are better now. The city is in better shape than she found it. So why leave now?
And I knew that I would be able to help with the council and administration to restabilize the city, and we've achieved that. So I think it's time to hand this off and let others pick up the work that needs to be done.
Then the second big challenge. After Hunter Tutu was no longer a cabinet minister or a Liberal Party member, where was Redfern going to turn to for lobbying Ottawa? As she puts it, she had to teach herself to be an Ottawa lobbyist.
Well, I had been trying to engage with our MP for some time before he stepped away from caucus. It clearly was a challenge, even leading up to his resignation. But when he no longer was affiliated with the Liberal Party or in government, who do we go to? No one. So in the end, in those circumstances, it's like there's a lot of things that the city needed, and so one had to step up.
So the self-taught lobbyist lobbied, and every time a federal cabinet member sat down in Iqaluit, we've had 7 of them visit this August alone. They and their staff had already heard from the mayor.
And on some issues, like the landfill, it's an environmental issue, it's a community infrastructure issue, and so in the end, I just approached anyone and everyone who seemed to have some sort of mandate on that.
For most of this term on council, Redfern has been the only woman, and the mayor only votes to break a tie. In her note telling residents why she's decided not to run, she urged more women to try to join council.
Our views matter, and we have a lot of very, very smart, capable Inuit, and especially a lot of very smart, capable, educated Inuit women that should feel confident and comfortable being able to step up. We need to make sure that this is a safe place as well, that you're not going to come into this room and be bullied or be receive sexist, misogynist type of comments.
Iqaluit is constantly changing. The city is a hub for the territory. In her note to residents, she expressed concern that Inuit may, quote, lose the capital. We wanted to know exactly what she meant. She told us she was talking with a land claims organization president and was surprised at the result.
The president had said, Iqaluit's not an Inuit community. I was like, what? There's 4,500 Inuit here. We're the largest Inuit community, not only in this territory, actually in the country. So it made me realize that we really need to capitalize on the fact that the Inuit are here.
The latest push from Nunavut's Inuit organizations has been pushing for more self-government. If Inuit run for and fill Iqaluit City Council, that would be self-government in the most direct way. October's municipal election will see if the outgoing mayor gets her wish. Kent Driscoll, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
Now to a story you've been waiting 24 hours for. It's about some boaters on a lake northeast of Vancouver who likely did a double take when they saw it. The black bear out for a swim on a Sunday, dog paddling across the lake. A witness captured the video and posted it to Instagram, where it's had hundreds of likes. She says she and her friend weren't frightened, they just thought it was cute. Glad we were able to find that video for you. That's your APTN National News for this Thursday. For more, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. Stay up to date by downloading the APTN News app. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back there tomorrow.